Welcome everybody to our meeting today, October the 7th. Welcome to all of our members from all over the world. Here's a list of where everybody's from. We have people as far away as Australia and London, and of course all over the United States. I certainly welcome everybody. Each of our meetings will continue until June the 30th, 2021. At the same time, they will, until you hear anything different, all meetings will be on Zoom. And all meetings on Zoom are strictly for members. Once we get back to the library, if that should ever happen, we will be open to the public. We have, with our promotion on new members, we now have 48 new members. The goal was 50. We have 2 to go. And so any help we can get from the members, we'd appreciate it. We only need 2 more to hit our goal of 50. We've done, I think, an outstanding job, and it was a great promotion. And we probably won't utilize it again until the same time next year. I have announced all classes. Registration will start on the 1st of November. We are looking for a webmaster. So if we have any member out there with webmaster skills, please step up. Big starting salary, big sign-on bonus, as you can see. And we'd appreciate hearing from you. Okay, next week's meeting will be our famous Mitch Pryor, who will be talking about the meeting on the 13th, Apple's meeting on the 13th, where they will be announcing the new iPhone and some other tidbits. And Mitch will also be covering at that meeting the phone, the watch, the iPad, and the iOS, and so forth. The meeting after that will be Joe Kiesel. Joe Kiesel is the Take Control book, owner of Take Control Books, a real bright guy, and he's going to talk about Big Sur. It'll be our first meeting on basically Big Sur. And it should be a great meeting, an interesting guy, and a great presenter. So make sure you certainly come to those next 2 meetings. We really do appreciate it, Mary and I, that everybody, we've had great follow-up on the surveys. They will continue, and if you can complete it, it will help us plan future meetings and improve anything that is a problem. And we really utilize the information, and we appreciate if you could complete that. Today's presenter, there was a change. Chita will be presenting today. It's a question and answer, and it's covering the operating systems of all Apple devices. Thank you very much, Chita, for changing your schedule around, and it's all yours.
Thank you. And one day I will have an adequate amount of time to get stuff ready.
You probably won't be quite as good, though.
I probably not. You keep backing it up. Before it was a day, now it's 2 days. So, you know, next month I should be really, really, really prepared. I want to thank you everyone for joining us. And with this Q&A, I really appreciate the fact that everyone likes to be interactive and they contribute their knowledge. And there are some questions that I have in the Q&A today, and I specifically put them in because I know that there are members who are in this meeting who have far more knowledge about some of these things than I do. And it would be just so great if you continue to help and share and make this Q&A as interactive and helpful to all of our members as possible. So with that, please feel free to raise your hand. And this is, I hope, going to be a great interaction between all of us. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and start my meeting.
Oh.
All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Oh. It's NMUG.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And let me start. And once again, welcome everyone to the question and answers, and hopefully it will be very interactive and you will have a wonderful time here. The first question I have today is actually from Eckert. And his wife wants to know, how do I change the default color for outgoing messages in my mail app? She's using Mojave and she would like to use blue rather than black as the default color. So after some research, I've discovered or found that there's really no way to do that. And it sort of has to do with how all of the mail programs work. And I know that when you add color and add images and such to an image, it's actually, to an email, it's actually considered a different format, what's called a rich text format. And that could be one of the reasons, and also just the way the internet works. So there's no way that I found that you can change the default color, but I did find what could be a workaround. It's not totally as elegant as I would like it to be, but I think it's pretty painless. So I'm going to escape from this and let's hide this and open up Mail, and I'll show you what I put together. All right, so let's hide that for a second. In the Mail app, you can go to the Preferences menu, and you have signatures that you can create. So across the top, you have your different sections that you can go to, but go to Signatures, and I'm going to select iCloud. And right now I have several signatures in iCloud that I use for different purposes when I'm emailing someone. And for this particular instance, this is what I found that you can create. So again, making sure that you have iCloud selected. I'm going to go to the plus sign at the bottom of my screen, and I'm going to click Add. And I'm going to name this color Signature. Now over on the right-hand side, I'm going to select that text, and I'm just going to type hi, and then add a bunch of carriage returns. Then I'm going to select that area that I just created. And several ways you can get to colors. I'm going to go to the Format menu, and I can select Show Colors. I can also right-click in this area and select Font and choose Show Colors. So 2 ways to get to this area. It doesn't matter how you get to it. But let me check something. I noticed that I unselected that. So now that I have my Colors panel up, I can change the color of the text to any color I want. If I can go green, blue, or whatever. And you can add color swatches into this area. If you decide you want a special color, you can just drag it into this area and have it available for all of the Apple apps that use this panel. So let's get back to a blue. And after I select blue, I'm then going to come back over and click on the color signature. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you have to wait or pause a couple of seconds to make sure that it syncs, because what you want to then do is come down to the bottom where it says choose signature, and you want to make sure that that signature is there. Now the signature is not here yet. It has not synced. So what I normally do, I just start clicking around just to give myself something else to do. And then when I come back here, it's there. So it just needs time to sync or set. Sometimes I call this like kicking the app it's like kicking the tires or hitting the printer to make it work properly. I did that once and broke a printer, so I'm never doing that again. So I'm going to choose color. So what's going to happen, the reason for me choosing color signature is that this is now going to be the default signature on my emails. So I'm going to leave that open. Let's go to mail, and I'm going to create a new mail, and I just use the shortcut key for file new messages. And notice that it automatically fills in here. So it filled in that signature, and I can click here and type in, and I get the color. Now, you get the color that you want because this is the signature, but there's also one thing that the signature does, no matter which signature you choose. It leaves a space up here, and this space is filled with that black text. So you can just select that space, delete it, and then just back up so that only your blue text is there. Or you don't have to do anything. You can just leave it there and then work in the area beyond. That's why I put the extra carriage returns in to give you some space. So this is the only way, Eckert, that I've found that you can create default blue text on an email. And once you have the signature created, you don't have to do it again, and you can change the color if you want. But this is the only way that I've discovered that you can do this.
Well, I really appreciate that, Chita. Thanks for your outstanding effort to, to find that way. And I will try it out right after our meeting. Thank you.
All right, you're quite welcome. All right, so let me close this. And I'm going to quit my mail. I don't think I'll be back in there. And let's go back to Keynote. All right, and let's click the next question. The next question is, what are tabs? Now, it depends on what you're talking about, if you're talking about apps or the Finder, but they work the same. Tabs is another way to view multiple locations in the Finder window or in a Mac OS app. So let's take a look at that. Let's hide. And I have a couple of folders here that have documents that I want to just use as samples. So I'm going to double click on the folder. It's doing something on my other screen because I have it open already. Okay, so let me do this. All right, so I double clicked on the folder to open it, and it opened up a Finder window. When there's no other Finder window open, and actually, let me back up a second. Let me show you how I got to this point. If I go to Finder and go to Preferences, there's a setting here, Open Folders and Tabs instead of New Windows. So when you double click on a folder anywhere on your hard drive, it's either going to open up, it's going to open up a window if there's no other window open. But with this check, with this section checked, if I open up folders, and I'm going to double click and open up another folder, it opens it up in tabs instead of opening up another window. So that's a way to help decrease clutter on your screen. And if you want to open up another tab, you just can click on the tab button here on the right-hand side. And if I select that, it just opens up tabs. So what do these tabs do? They allow you to look at different areas or different folders on your computer without you having so much clutter on your computer desktop. So if I want to see the text documents folder and work on a file here, I can do that. And then I can click sample. It takes me to another folder. And then I click hard drive, and that's actually taking me to my hard disk on my computer so that I can go to a new location, any location that I want. So you can also copy between locations. So say I wanted to take this file and copy it to my text documents. I can just hold down the Option key, drag the file, and if I hover over the tab with the name of the folder that I want, I can just then drop this in that location or copy it to that location. So it is a really quick way to go from place to place to place without having multiple windows open, Finder windows open at the same time. As I've had many, at least 15 Finder windows open at one time trying to get from place to place to place. So this is really helpful. Now, when it pertains to your files, I'm going to go ahead and open up a document here. Let's see, let's open up this one. And of course it opens on my other screen, so I'm going to drag it over. And just pretend you didn't see me do that. And let me do this. I didn't know that was open. So let's try this again. So if you double click on a file, a native Mac OS file, it opens up in a window. And if you want to, or when you open up another file, it opens that file up in the same window and just places the tab of the window directly adjacent to it. So again, you can go to different documents, but only have one window open. And the same thing applies if you click on the tab here, you can open up and create a new document. So it's really handy, really useful to work with tabs in the Finder window and in the Mac OS. And there are actually some apps, like some of the Adobe apps, that automatically work this way. So it's not a new feature for, most of the apps at all, but it's a very helpful feature. So I hope the person who asked this question can, if they're here, unmute themselves, and this has answered your question, okay?
Yes, it did. Thank you, Chita. It's Mary. Thanks very much.
You're quite welcome, Mary. All right, so I can go ahead and just hide this. And let's go back to Keynote and to our next question. What are Safari extensions? How do they function? What do we need to know about them? Do we adjust them? An extension is like a plugin that adds functionality, and it will give Safari and other apps, like I know Mail has a lot of extensions that you can use for them as well. And it will give these applications functionality that these applications don't normally have natively. So let's bring something up to show you where you can get extensions. Now, if I go to the App Store and I type in Safari extensions, it will show you some of the extensions that are available from the App Store, probably all of them. So if you scroll, you can see what's available, and you can see what these different Safari app extensions do. So let's click on this one. And there is probably nothing we want more than to block all of those pop-up ads that are just constantly coming at us. So this extension will allow you to do that. And of course, some of the extensions are free, some have in-app purchases. And when it comes to the extension, just read about it to find out what it will do for you, if it will give you the functionality that you need or not. But there are plenty, and most of them seem to help keep ads away from you. They help to keep your passwords safe, and they seem to do a lot of things like blocking with spam, and some work with the different social media apps like YouTube and Facebook. So take a look and see what they are, and if you find one that's useful for you, it might be well worth buying, and it may add a functionality that you don't already have and that you can use. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so let's hide this and let's go to the next question. Now, this is an interesting one for me as well, because I do not use Boot Camp. And I know that some of you out there do know about Boot Camp and use it. So if you can chime in to help with this question, I would appreciate it. The question is, I split my wife's hard drive and added Windows using Boot Camp. When we use Time Machine, is any of the Windows information backed up? Now, as far as I know, it is not backed up. And you have to find a different application to help you do that. So, Jim Corsica, are you raising your hand for me? If so, unmute yourself.
Yes, this is on the extension subject. And
Oh, okay.
I've just always wondered about this. Chita, the only extension I've ever really added was the ad blocker. My question is, doesn't everybody want an ad blocker? Why isn't it native to Safari?
There is well, I know that there's a pop-up blocker that's native to Safari, and some websites can't function if you have that pop-up blocker. The pop-up blocker was initially, I believe, created to work to help you stop those ads popping up. So everybody's finding a different way around to try to, get in your face. So there are some things that I've noticed that Apple has just left to other developers to create. So that could be, their answer for that.
Okay, thanks.
You're quite welcome. All right. Does anyone have a commentary on Boot Camp? Okay, if you do, chime in. So what I found with Boot Camp is that Time Machine does not natively back up a Windows partition. And to back up the Windows partition, you have to have a different application. I've read about WinClone, and that is, let me pull up this website for you. And from what I've read about this particular app, it will back up Boot Camp when it's working with your Mac. And actually, let's see. So I'd read about it to see if this will actually help you to get what you want. But from what I've read, it is one of the solutions that people who use Boot Camp use to help back up Boot Camp. So hopefully this will help you. Take a look at the app and let us know if it does help, if it does give you the features that you need in order to help you back up Boot Camp, but Time Machine definitely does not.
Sheeta, some of our members might not know what Boot Camp is.
Boot Camp is a partition that you create on your Mac OS hard drive that allows you to run Windows programs. It's like a simulator. It's similar to, Boot Camp is similar to, if you've ever heard of Parallels, and I believe there's one more that I can't think of, but they allow you to run Windows applications on your Mac. And I've actually used Parallels before, and it actually worked pretty well. But I don't run Windows operating system apps anymore. So that's what Boot Camp does. It's a native app created by Apple to allow you to use to create a Windows simulation machine on your Mac. And it's very handy. Yes, Ecker.
I cannot raise my hand as a host. Unfortunately, the feature raise your hand, the host cannot do it. So I just have to chip in here. I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
But as far as my personal experience is concerned, I came from the dark side, as many of our members did. And for a long time, I maintained both systems, Windows and Mac operating system, on the same computer using Parallels. Mm-hmm. And I used Super Duper as a backup. That worked very well. Mm-hmm. And it also included the Parallels app and everything that became part of it, my old Windows system.
Right.
But I do like to make a comment on the validity of Time Machine. Mm-hmm. I would like to tell you, all the audience, that I have my sincere doubts that Time Machine is still the tool that many people believe it is. And because of the advent of Icloud Drive, if you use Icloud Drive on your Mac computers, and you include as many options as possible for this Icloud Drive, iCloud will include your contacts list, your photo library, your documents, your desktop, and many other files. And when you try Time Machine to find, if you delete any of those files and you try Time Machine to restore those files, either out of contacts or photos, or from the desktop, or from your downloads, Time Machine will not identify those files for you anymore, because they do not back up iCloud documents and files. I just wanted to mention that because I have run that experience myself, and iCloud Drive has become very powerful as a restoration tool. And do not assume that Time Machine is still what it used to be. And that's just my very general warning.
Eckert, does your iCloud Drive allow you to restore a backup maybe that you had a month ago?
I believe that the restoration power of iCloud Drive is limited to 30 days.
Okay.
So if you need something and it's longer than 30 days, you will probably not be able to find it easily anymore.
Okay, understood. Now, for those of you who do not have all of your photos, contacts, and, well, actually, photos, if you're using photos, and if everything is stored in iCloud Drive, Eckert is correct. If you do not have like your databases stored in iCloud Drive, which I don't, and some of the other files, then what you would have to do is go back and restore the database. And you can do that in Time Machine, from Time Machine. And Time Machine will ask you, do you want to keep both? It will not automatically overwrite the file you restore. The benefit I find of Time Machine is that if there's a file that I want to go back to and retrieve, that, let's say I was working with a client 2 years ago and I did a Time Machine backup, and maybe I won't go back as far, let's go back a year. And I did a Time Machine backup at that time, and let's say 6 months ago or 3 months ago, thinking that I would never work with that client again, I deleted that folder. Well, I can actually step back into Time Machine from a year ago and retrieve that folder. But that is also conditional, because what I've noticed about Time Machine is that, let's say if I update it to a brand new operating system, if I went from High Sierra to Catalina, I may not be able to go back that far. If I didn't, I would certainly be able to go back and retrieve it. My present Time Machine backup goes back 2 years. So there's some files that I can get and some files that I can't get. So Time Machine does have its validity in that you can restore your Mac from Time Machine. You cannot boot up from it, which is a problem. So you need an app that will allow you to boot up from it, to create a bootable disk for you. Time Machine can allow you to get files. And I just had a client who lost some stuff and they would not diligently use their Time Machine backup. And that's why we could not recreate the file. So there's some validity, just like there's some apps that do one thing. There's some apps that do other things. So it's not that it's a great thing to have, but with all of the features that iCloud has and Time Machine has, it really doesn't cost you anything to have that extra cushion. So right now, if you have Time Machine, keep it. If you want a bootable backup, you need to get a program like Carbon Copy Cloner or SuperDuper. If you have where iCloud will give you incremental backups and allow you to restore something from months ago, use that as well. So there are a lot of features here that you can use, read about them and ask more questions, and hopefully we can give you the answers that you need.
Sheila, there is a comment
Yes, sir.
in the chat box from Victoria.
Victoria. Actually, I have used Time Machine to bring back something that was on desktop. I think you need to aim the Time Machine at the, Time Machine will not back up iCloud. You can tell Time Machine what not to back up, but it will not back up iCloud. There's just too much going on there. So, all right. All right, unless we have any more. Alan and Barbara, you have a question?
Yes, this morning when I opened up my computer, I got a message that said, quote, the backup couldn't be completed because there's not enough room on the drive. I'm not sure exactly what that is referring to, but I might be referring to the Time Machine backup to my external drive, which may have been filled because it keeps adding and adding and adding. But I thought that when the drive is full, it drops off the oldest ones and keeps putting new ones on. Is that not the case?
No, that is the case. It will just tell you that it's going to do it, but has it just completely stopped and it won't do it?
It said the backup could not be completed because there wasn't enough room on the drive. That's all it said, and I was anxious to go to this meeting, so I didn't pursue it further. But it just said the backup couldn't be completed because there's not enough room on the drive.
Okay, then something needs to be looked into, because Time Machine will typically just keep going, and you might want to check and see that your external drive that you're using is okay. I actually had someone who kept getting that message within the last month, and their drives eventually failed. 2 of them that she was using for Time Machine. So it's really odd for 2 drives to fail at the exact same time like that. So check and make sure that the disk is okay. If you by chance have another external drive around, or buy another one and do a Time Machine, another Time Machine backup, but just make sure you have something for it, available, some type of backup, because you may be getting the same issue that she had. I do believe it was a Time Machine issue, because like I said, both of those drives should not have failed at the exact same time.
Okay, I have a related question, if I might. If I go in and manually throw away old backups that are like 2 years old, 3 years old, if I throw those away and make more room on the drive, is that okay? Or do they build on the old ones? If you throw away the old ones, you don't have the backup complete?
There is a way to remove a backup from Time Machine without corrupting the drive. Unless you know how, don't do it, because you will never be able to get back into Time Machine again. I did it once. I learned my lesson. I know the correct way. I can't show you here because it won't be allowed on Zoom. I can't show you how to get into Time Machine and do that. But if you go into Time Machine and you, let's say, click on a folder and delete it, don't try to delete a backup. Try to delete like a folder. Like I deleted from Time Machine Adobe programs that were like 2 or 3 years old because it backed them up. I didn't need them. They were taking up like 10 gigabytes of space. If you go into Time Machine, click on that folder and then select or right click and say delete this backup and all other backups, Time Machine will then properly delete it. And the crazy thing about it is Time Machine will never say done. It will just do what it's doing and then stare at you. And so then what you actually have to do is press cancel. So after you say delete, give it a minute or 2 to do what it needs to do, and then press the cancel button. It'll bring you back out of Time Machine, but it will have deleted that folder with all of that information in it. Don't delete a folder off of Time Machine any other way, or you will never be able to get that time machine back up working again.
Okay, well, I think I may have already done that a couple of weeks ago, and so maybe that's the source of my problem. If that is the case, I just have to erase this whole drive and reset it up with Time Machine and start from scratch again. Is that right?
Yeah, you're screwed. Like I said, I did it once and it took me 2 weeks to find the information and fix it. It's not worth it. So if you did that, you're screwed.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, any other questions before I move on? All right, so let me hide this and continue on. And let's with our next question. Does the Logitech Crayon work with the new 8th generation iPad and the new Scribble feature? Any thoughts on the Crayon versus the Apple 1st gen? From what I found out, and let's see if I can, that you should have a link on it. Cool. The Crayon is the new stylus from Logitech, and it does work with iPads models 2018 and newer. So from what I read, it will work with the new iPads. And the iOS 14, iPad OS 14 Scribble feature is not restricted to just the Apple Pencil. It works with any active stylus. So you can go and read about the Crayon and what it will do. I've read really good things about it. And from what I understand, any chargeable stylus will work with the new Scribble feature. Apple did not make it only available to the Apple Pencil. So go take a look at it if you need to find out more about that feature. And as far as the iPad 1st gen, the iPad 1st gen has now a limited amount of models that it will work with. So if you go on the Apple website, look up Apple Pencil 1st gen, and it'll show you what models it works with. So there are some it won't, and then you'll have to get an Apple Pencil 2nd gen in order to work with certain models. So take a look. I found that this works, and happy scribbling. Okay. Any questions? All right, let's move on. Is it possible to receive internet programs on my LG TV without having to buy an Apple TV? My Wi-Fi source is my Mac in my office. Now, I know several of you out there have incredible answers to this, so I'm waiting for hands to pop up. But my first question is, did you buy a smart TV? And if you bought a smart TV, there should be features and apps and internet connectivity that comes with this smart TV that allow you to use it without having an Apple device connected to it or any other type of streaming device. Your Wi-Fi source is probably not your Mac. It's probably your router and your home network. So read about the device that you purchased, and it will let you know what it can do. That's my first answer to you. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm sure there are programs that you can receive without plugging up an Apple TV connected to it. The native apps will probably allow you to do that. So hopefully that gives you some help. Okay. Next question. My Mac is so slow. Spinning beach ball, slow startup, opening, closing apps, loading web pages is slow, opening menus is slow, creating new documents, switching accounts, everything is slow. So my first thought is, how much hard drive space do you have? How much RAM do you have? And take a look at those. And have you run disk utility, first aid on your Mac? And let me show you where that is. Let's hide this as well. Natively with your Mac, you have this disk utility app. And this disk utility app allows you to run some what are called first aid features to help fix your Mac if something's might be going wrong. So this is the first place I would start. When you open up disk utility, you want to select the icon for the hard drive, and then you will click on the first aid icon. Now, I'm not going to run this because I'm in a meeting, but this is where you would run. It will give you feedback as it's running, and it may tell you whether things are okay or if something's wrong. It may put things back in, quote, the right place. Now, one of the things that you can also do that really, believe it or not, helps your Mac, laptop, computer tremendously is to turn it off. Turn it off and then turn it back on. Don't leave it running and just put it to sleep all the time. Certain things don't get placed in their proper location. Things just get corrupt and tired after a while, just continually running. So turn your computer off, then turn it back on. See if that helps. If disk utility doesn't help, there are other applications that you can use to see if something else is wrong. You can run a program titled Onyx. Onyx is a free download. I've used Onyx in the past. It works great to help put things in their proper place. Just like with disk utility, it has like a disk first aid that you can run to check on the health of your computer. The same with another application. This one is titled Clean My Mac X, I believe. So, do a internet search and look for utilities that, work or help with the health of your Mac. How much RAM do you have? Take a look at that. You may not have enough RAM for what you're doing. Your computer is a 2011, and for me, that's like dog years when it comes to a computer. It may be time to get a new one. The computer may just have lived its life expectancy. If your hard drive may be dying, all kinds of signs happen when things are going wrong. You may actually need to reinstall to factory settings and then put your documents back on the computer. That will help as well. So there's a lot of steps that you can go through to see what is wrong and to help the computer. You just have to troubleshoot and see which one may or may not work for you. And I'm getting, okay, I'll answer that in a second. All right, so someone says, beware, do not use MacKeeper. I've never used MacKeeper. We will take that into advice. I feel the same way about some programs. And on this subject, I hope these different ideas help you out. It sounds like because everything is running so slow, a reinstall to factory settings and copying your documents back over might be the wisest choice for you. Make sure you have your documents and the files that you need backed up before you do this reinstall, because a reinstall, you're basically wiping everything away. So make sure you have your backup, and you don't want to reinstall the system from the backup. You only want to reinstall the documents. If you reinstall the system, you may be reinstalling the CRUD that's causing the problem in the first place. So reinstall to factory settings and just copy your documents, re-download your apps that you've purchased. So that may help you. So hopefully let us know what worked for you. And I'm going to answer a couple of questions here. All right, so Jim, LG Smart TVs. According to Plex, the Plex app can be installed on any LG Smart TV running Netcast, WebOS Lite, WebOS 1.0 to 3.0. And thank you very much for that. And please revisit issue of subscription versus free version of Super Duper and why one may not be getting full backups with the free version. You are absolutely not getting full backups. Well, let me say this, that's sort of not true. When you use the free version of Super Duper, if you want to make a backup, what it will do is completely wipe the external drive and then recopy. If you have the paid version, it will not completely re-wipe or wipe the external drive. It will just copy, and it will just copy what is new, what has changed. So that's a difference in 3 or 4 hours versus 20 minutes. So I always recommend that you have the free version, not the free version, sorry. I always recommend that you have the paid version of Super Duper. It's the best $20, $30 that you're going to spend. It really is. And it has many uses. All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, thanks for that.
You're quite welcome, Victoria. Quite welcome. So Super Duper is at shirtpocket.com. If someone can enter that into the chat, I'd appreciate it. Shirtpocket.com. That's where you can download Super Duper. And I helped someone with that 2 days ago. And they made it, Super Duper made it so easy for you to download, install, and register. It was click, 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 and you're done. So great app. I use it. Is CC Cleaner any good? CC Cleaner, I don't know what CC Cleaner is. So read about it and beware, but I don't know what CC Cleaner is, so I can't give you any advice on that. All
I
right.
would make, can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
On these cleaners, your best bet as you look through the internet for them is to maybe even call Apple Care and ask them that question, because many of them are really bad and will do bad things to your computer.
Some are, yes, and I don't have any cleaners on my computer. I don't use them. I just
Neither
don't
do I.
use them. Yeah, because I don't like adding too many things that aren't native to my computer. I just don't like what they could possibly do. So I don't use a cleaner. It is in the same category as all those helpful programs. James Cutler wrote, CC Cleaner is in the same category as all of those helpful programs. Generally avoid them. Yes, I avoid them. I don't use them. But Onyx has always had a good reputation for being a utility that helps with your Mac. Does anyone have any comments or commentary that they'd like to share about Onyx? I have used it. It worked great for when I used it. I just don't use most of these because I keep a clean, streamlined system. If something's slowing down my system, it's usually something really, really odd. So I've used Onyx. I recommend it. When I used VPN on my Mac, it slowed me down too much, so I deleted it. VPNs can do it. This is from Jim Corsica. I also have, I use Crash Plan. Programs like that do cloud backups, they can also slow your computer down for a while as well. So be aware of what you have running, how many apps you have running. Again, turn your computer off, shut things down, clean your cache. Wayne Mertz, I have used Onyx for a decade. Great program. I have donated to keep them going. I agree with you, Wayne. When I've used Onyx, I had no problem with it whatsoever. The people that I go to when I ask about things like that, they have recommended Onyx to me. So Onyx for Mac, ONYX, Onyx, and give it a try. See if that will help with the slowness on your computer. I asked a question and I have solved my problem about signing. Okay, thank you, Sophia. Greatly appreciated it. I want you to share that with me. So if you could unmute yourself and tell me what your question was, and so that everyone will know, and let us know how you solved that. So Sophia, are you there? Don't be shy. We don't bite normally. Sophia? Hi. Okay. Hopefully we can get you to, I cannot see how to raise my hand. All you have to do is unmute yourself. Are you on your MacBook Pro, Sophia?
She is unmuted.
Okay. Okay. If Sophia decides she wants to share, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Sophia. All right. So with your computer, you can try these different methods to see what may work. I reinstall, to me, might be the last resort. That's what I call the nuclear solution. So Mitch, unmute yourself and respond.
Yes, you mentioned VPNs, and we just ran into a situation on an iPhone where a fellow was using Encrypt Me, which had worked for me for a couple of years. I don't use it anymore, but it turned out that it was something had happened because all of a sudden he could not get on the internet. And we worked and tried to figure out, and I didn't even know he had a VPN on the phone, but he called Apple, and it was his second or third call to Apple, and he said, I finally got somebody who knew what they were talking about, and they immediately said, do you have a VPN? He turned it off, and he had Wi-Fi. So you got to be really careful with these VPNs.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So as you see, there are a lot of things that can slow your computer and take it down. There was even a time where fonts, having the wrong font on your system, could take your computer down. So there are a lot of things to try, a lot of troubleshooting to do. So please let us know what solution you come up with. And Sophia said that I have unmuted, but I don't think I have a speaker. I see that you have a microphone. Are you there? Okay. Well, we'll get your responses and I will share them. If you can write how you solved your issue in the chat, that will help share it with everyone. Wayne Mertz writes, we'll probably need to update Onyx when Bixar becomes available. Yes, and because Onyx is a free software, it will, actually, let's go to the website and Onyx app. So here, this is Onyx and this is what it looks like. And it has right now Onyx for Mac OS Catalina, and it is really good about updating. What you want to make sure of is that if you do download Onyx, you download the app that is compatible with your system. There's Onyx for Catalina, Onyx for Mojave, High Sierra, Mac OS Sierra, El Capitan, Yosemite, Mavericks, Mountain Lion. It goes way back. So make sure you are downloading the correct version of Onyx. And the fact that they go all the way back to Jaguar is impressive. So read and do your due diligence, but it is a really good app to use. Okay, and yes, I cannot hear you, Sophia. At first, the computer message was, I cannot connect. Then it said bad password, Comcast service. After many tries, I used the previous password and it worked. Okay, so yours was password specific. All right, thank you very much for sharing that. Sophia could not get on the internet and now she can. And that's good, because that would have been another question where we could only ask you to troubleshoot and go through different trials to see if anything worked. All right, so let's move on with the next question. How do you judge how much memory and storage you need on a new laptop? Really good question. And all right, you guys are like channeling everything that I did with some of my clients this week. So I'm going to hide this and show a couple of things. So I'm going to click on my hard drive and press Command I, which actually is the same command for coming over to the file menu and choosing Get Info. That is a great command to use. Whether you're using folders or any app, get info about it. It will actually tell you a lot. In this case, it's telling me how much capacity I've used on my hard drive. My hard drive is a 1 terabyte hard drive. Right now, I have 374 gigabytes available. So I've used just slightly more than half of my hard drive. So for me to get a 2 terabyte hard drive, and they probably only make them this way anymore, I wouldn't need it. So as much work as I do and as much files that I generate, if I only have 630 gigabytes used of a 1 terabyte drive, that tells me that there's a really good possibility that the hard drive on my next computer only needs to be 1 terabyte. But then again, there's always the what ifs. So what if I decide to start working with, excuse me, with other apps or heavily with video? That would mean that I need more space on my hard drive or an external drive. I understood from working with a lot of video and a lot of people who work with video that sometimes they put their video on external drives. So if you know that you're going to do something that you are going to generate a lot of larger file sizes, then you know that you want to update the size of your drive. But think about it in those terms. What are you going to do? If you're going to do the same thing, then there's a good possibility that you do not need to increase the size of your hard drive. It's a choice, and it's a choice that you look at the variables and that you make. Now, when it comes to memory, RAM, I have this. So I'm going to choose About This Mac, and this gives me sort of an overview of what's going on with my computer. I have a MacBook Pro. It tells me the year, it tells me the processor, it tells me the amount of memory that I have. And right now I have 16 gigabytes. And I purchased this laptop when this was the maximum that you could get on laptops. Well, things have changed. And now I can get up to 32 or 64 gigabytes on a laptop of this size or slightly larger. I'm so going for it. Reason being, the memory is what basically keeps that spinning ball from showing up. It allows your processes to go faster. It's what your computer uses to think and churn and chug. And you, in my opinion, like Tim Allen on Tool Time, you can't have enough power. With memory and me, you cannot have enough memory. So purchase the amount of memory that you can afford. And sometimes when you get in the higher ranges, it can be a considerable difference. So purchase the amount that you can afford, but I would never, ever, ever want to work with anything less than 16. 16 is not ideal for me because I run high intensive programs, but some people run programs that are more high intensive than I do. So I'm racing toward the amount of memory that I can add. So get the amount of memory that you can afford and get enough. My current minimum for more than just browsing and mail is 16 gigabytes and 500 gigabytes internal storage. I would have to agree with that, but I would say that don't get any lower than a capacity hard drive of 1 terabyte, and don't get any lower than 16 gigabytes. 16 gigabytes is the absolute minimum to run your computer, and you will still possibly see that spinning beach ball. So hopefully that answered your question.
May I, Chita, may I
Absolutely.
make
Absolutely.
a comment because you invited us, I think.
I did. Go ahead.
And I asked the same question, Apple, when I bought my, most recently, just about a month ago, my new iMac 27-inch computer. I said, what is the best memory for my own purposes? Now, my answer is different from yours, and that's why I'm talking about it. My answer is that for me, 8 gigabytes of memory are sufficient. And I'm telling you that I'm a different user of a computer.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I really don't work with videos at all. So what I basically do is I work with mail mostly. And I work with our database for our organization, NMUG. And I don't use many other apps anymore. And so my focus is fairly limited. I also use another disk utility, and that's the activator monitor. I think it monitors my computer activities. You find that in your applications under the utilities.
Yeah, activity monitor. Yes.
Yeah, and it shows the use of my memory, and I control that. And I really feel that my memory, I use 3-4 gigabytes max, sometimes 5. So I never even reach my 8. I'm just telling that because in our audience, there are many people like me who do not really use the computer like a professional like you. And you are absolutely right. You should have 16 or 32 or maybe even 64. But a lot of the people like me who just write emails to their friends and share photos, I think 8 gigabytes would also work. I just wanted to make that.
Sure, and that's fine, and that's very valid. But I want to say this, that let's say you have all of those Apple apps that you're using open at one time. So what's going to happen is that your computer is going to like do a process, swap out or pause so it can do another process, then come back to this process, come back to that. It's going to do a lot of swapping. So you are correct if that's what your need is. Define what your need is and then get memory accordingly. I wouldn't say 8, but it depends on your uses. So thank you for sharing, greatly appreciate it. And like you said, some users have the same needs that you do, and 8 may be sufficient. To me, even regardless, I would just say 8 is enough to turn your computer on. So
Make one more comment.
go ahead.
This brand new computer, I tried to download Bixar, the beta version, and I ran into a major problem. So I had to contact Apple Care, and it took us some time to fix that problem. But the expert I was talking to at that time, he also uses on his own computer 8 gigabytes. I just want you to know there are some people high up in the technical hierarchy of Apple who think who can live with 6.
Yeah. I don't believe it. Don't believe it for a second. Okay, let's thank you.
Chita, you've talked about what you can afford. How much more is 16 and 8? How much more is 32 than 16? Are we talking about $100 more or several $100 more?
You could be talking
5 or 6.
You could be talking, no, maybe not 5 or 6, but you could be talking several $100s more.
Right.
If you go to the Apple website and just pretend you're building a laptop or a computer, you can add the different amounts of memory and you can see the differences. So, but it's a very important piece. It really is. So don't think that it isn't and that you can get by without it. Pay attention to the amount of memory that you want in your computer. All right, so let's move on. So hopefully that has answered some questions for you regarding your storage needs and the amount of RAM that you have. All right, so the next question is, I have an older iPad which recently, maybe last update, affected my Pandora. When I tap the app, nothing happens. Is there any way I can use an older version of Pandora? Woo. Okay, now, this is where if you backed up your iPad with the iAmazing app that I'm finding incredible uses for, that this might have helped you. Okay, with that said, have you looked to see if there is an update for your Pandora app? Have you completely shut down and restarted your old iPad? That actually is an important step. When you update, turn it off completely. Don't put it to sleep. Turn it off, then turn it back on, and see if anything changes. If there's a Pandora update, it possibly may work for your older computer, but it's your older iPad, but it's possible that it may not. So if you updated and you didn't have an iAmazing backup, it's possible that you've lost this. So that's my only commentary on it, that you see if there are updates to that Pandora app. So I am finding some amazing things that I can do with iAmazing, and we had a presentation on it several months ago, and it's even better than what this guy demonstrated. So if you can download that app and do the backups on your computer, your iDevices with this app, I found that I can actually go back to maybe an update that I made months ago and pull out that version of the app that was working at that time and bring it forward, or even just save it. It's very helpful and to keep you from losing stuff and usability of some of the apps that you find dear. If nothing is happening when you tap the app, it's possible that it has just gone. In some cases, deleting the app and re-downloading may work, may give you a working version. So that is correct as well. So select the app and just delete it. You still have it and you still have access to it if it will still run on that iPad. So you can then re-download it. Even though you may not see it in the App Store, you still have access to it on your iPad. That is a cool feature as well that sort of isn't stressed or told. So you'll be able to download it if it's still there and available to you. Okay. All right. So let's move on. And actually, that was the last question that I had that I was able to answer. And if you have any other questions that you want to jump in and ask, please do. Mitch, you've raised your hand. Ask your question.
Yeah, a couple things. I want to get back to that memory deal on the computer. The problem is that with all the laptops that I'm aware of that Apple sells now, and the 24-inch iMac, you cannot add memory or additional disk space to those because they're closed systems. Now, I have a 27-inch, and the 27-inch I have, there's a panel on the back, and I can add RAM. And I don't know if they took that away on the latest one they just released or not. Eckerd, you would know that.
Well, let me pretend I'm Eckerd for a second. When Apple came out with these closed system devices, I was like in shock, because since I've been an Apple person, I've been able to add RAM, to a certain degree. I've been able to upgrade my hard drive capacity. And then when they came with these closed systems that you can do you could do neither, I actually went into shock, because it's like, I had more than this before you did this. So they're sort of coming there, and I don't know what the phase was, but evidently they felt the need to do that. So now with the newer models, you can add more RAM and then, add a larger drive. So there's some models, yes, that you cannot do that to, and some you can.
Okay, now I want to get to my real question, and it's a simple one. With Bixar, how do you add an additional page? I mean, I have like 4 big pages, I can swipe back and forth, and I keep certain things open on certain pages. And it used to be there was a way to get a plus sign to come up to add another one, and I can't find that.
Are you talking about mission control?
Yes, that's where you used to be able to do it.
Okay, I don't know. I do not have a beta version of Bixar, so I've not worked in it. If there's anyone who can answer that question, please respond, but I have not. So usually if you like push your mouse up to like the topmost of your screen, see if I can show you, if I can do it here. Okay, so where is my, not there, not there. Most of the time when I'm playing, or not playing around, but doing something, there it is. So I've tucked into the upper left corner of my screen, and it's taking me to mission control. So I don't know, and there's your plus sign that you're looking for. So I don't know if they've taken it out or what, but I've not worked with that beta version, so I can't tell you. Okay. Okay, Mitch is gone. Natalie, you had a question?
Yes, I have. And I waited until all the questions were asked because it's a simple thing. I've done it several times. And when I signed in today, it was a black screen again. I had, after the meeting last week, I went back in and put a photograph in. It was fine. So I just assumed that when I signed in today, it would be there. It was not. And before the meeting started, I tried different things, but I thought I would check with you to see what is the simplest way to get a photograph in back of in your screen for background.
You're talking about the virtual background in Zoom?
Yes.
You go to the settings. Yeah, go ahead, Eckert, take over.
Natalie, and we discussed that prior to your joining the meeting. I think it is on her, in a Zoom setting, her profile is missing her photo. And it's not the virtual background. And I told her that she has to go into settings, and there is a profile, and you can edit your profile, and you can actually drag a photo from your desktop to that profile, so it becomes part of your system.
Okay.
And
I'm thinking she doesn't know how to get into her settings.
Okay. All right, James Corsica, ask your question.
Hi, Chita. I have a friend who, for legal reasons, wants to save a text thread in Messenger. And I did some research on this, and I found out how you can do it. You press down on one text message, another window opens that enables you to copy it and send it or paste it wherever you want. However, you lose the original formatting of the text thread. In other words, there's no names, there's no attribution to it. It's basically one big lump of text. Do you know of any way to keep the original formatting and the original attribution of a text thread on Messenger?
Yep, amazing. This app will allow you to copy all of your text threads and basically keep them in the same look, same format. You can tell it to show the person contact and contact information, and it will all be posted in that thread. And I'm not showing you mine because I don't want to, but this app is amazing.
That's fantastic. Is there a cost for that app?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. But what was the guy's name, George, who was here?
Actually, Jim, if you go back and look at our videos, there's a video on iAmazing, and I can also get a hold of his name. I just can't remember it right this single second.
Yeah. Here's the iAmazing app. Yeah, there's a free download. You can buy it. Let's see what the price is. The price is $44. I think it went up because at the time when he did the presentation here, he gave us a considerable discount on this, maybe even 30 or 40% discount, but it's worth every dime. Every dime. because, and I'll tell, and I've told this story before, but I had text messages from someone, a very dear person who passed away. And she actually texted me to say goodbye. And I wanted to keep those text messages. I wanted to get them off my phone, but to keep them someplace near and dear and safe. And this app allowed me to do that. So it's worth every penny.
That's a
Even
great
just
story.
for that, it was worth every penny that I paid
Well,
for.
this is not one of those. This is a threatening text thread.
Yeah.
So,
Well, either way, you can still get that entire thread. It gets the entire thread
wow.
from whatever it started years ago to present day. It gets the entire thread.
That's great.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. You're welcome. I have run over my time. There is, if you haven't read the chat, there are a couple links in the chat for third-party RAM and shirtpocket.com. You are so welcome, Rick. Please let me know how things turned out. And I really appreciate you guys joining me and being interactive. I think the question and answer works great when we can all share the knowledge, because I know there are a lot of you out there who have some extreme great knowledge on some of the topics that we cover. So I thank you for joining me and helping out with this presentation. And George, it's all yours.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chita. Are we gonna, can you just turn on the volume and let everybody cheer for Chita?
Thank you, Chita.
Yay,
You're welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you,
Yeah,
Dean. Thank
thank
you,
you.
Paul. Thank you, Rick.
outstanding as always.
All right,
But
thanks, everybody. Have a good day, stay well, and we'll see you for Mitch next week.